Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 10th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. Inside today's video, we're going to be drafting up against the Yahoo Pre-Draft Rankings, so it's going to be a lot like we are drafting on Yahoo. But before we get on into the breakdown of each and every single one of my picks inside this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys over on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. So without further ado, let's get into the mock draft. So again, this is a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 10th overall spot. The roster positions go as follow: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So without further ado here, let's get on into the mock draft. So sitting at the 10th overall spot, if I'm being honest with you guys, is one of my favorite spots to be sitting in a 10-team league. I really do like and prefer sitting at the back part of the first round. I think that's where I can build my best team. Now, some people prefer to sit in the middle. Other people prefer to be closer to the beginning of the draft. So let me know down below in the comment section where your preferred draft spot is for fantasy football in 2021. So the draft begins with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Nicholas Chubb, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, and Saquon Barkley. So out of the first round, if I'm being honest with you, there was nothing really that out of the ordinary that occurred. Now, I'm not going to take Nick Chubb over Aaron Jones, over Saquon Barkley. I understand why people do it, right? Because of the consistency that Nick Chubb brings to the table. He's on a very run-heavy team, but to me, his upside is definitely limited by Kareem Hunt being there, as well as the fact that Kareem Hunt really does suck away a lot of the receiving volume. So on the board here at the 110, only one non-running back went in the first 9 picks of the draft, that being Devontae Adams, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers. You can really, in a 10-team league, figure that probably in the first round, most of the time, there's going to be 2 to 3 non-running backs inside the first round. Sometimes right here, say we take a running back, there will only be 1 non-running back taken inside the first round, but we will see if that is the case here. So looking at the board, obviously all the big running backs are off the board, aside from Austin Ekeler, who, if I'm being honest with you guys, I really do believe could be a top 5 running back. The reason why I say that is because in PPR, the receiving volume that a running back like Austin Ekeler could be receiving in the Chargers offense is damn near league winning. The amount of targets he could be seeing game in and game out are going to be very, very high. And if this offense is able to be as solid as they were with Justin Herbert last season, I believe that Austin Ekeler, if able to stay healthy, could really be a top 5 running back. Now, obviously, he's one of those running backs that isn't technically a workhorse running back because he's not going to see 20 plus rushes every single game like some other players that get drafted ahead of him, but he is going to make up with those, low amount of rushes with a very high amount of targets game in and game out. So I expect Austin Ekeler to be really good. He is going to be my pick inside of the first round here. So only one non-running back goes inside of the first round, but we will make up for that by going tight end at the beginning of the second round. Now, in a 10-team league, now I understand that's not an 8-team league, but most teams are going to be very, very stacked. It is hard to click on a team inside of a 10-team draft and it be completely terrible. Now, there are going to be teams that are worse than others. Obviously, that's how a champion is going to be ending up being crowned at the end of the season. But getting that advantage at the tight end position is very, very important in a smaller league because the odds that everyone's team is pretty good, especially if you're playing with some experienced players, is going to be very high, but you're going to have that advantage at a position where not everyone's going to have one of those top 3, top 2 tight ends. I think Travis Kelce could easily repeat as the #1 overall tight end this season, so here he is a no-brainer pick in my opinion at the 201. I know some people are against the draft philosophy of drafting a tight end, but I believe in a 10-team league or in an 8-team league, the position importance in my mind is a lot higher. So we went ahead and drafted Travis Kelce at the 201. After that, we see Tyreek Hill, followed by Stephon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, Najee Harris, and Justin Jefferson closes out the second round. The third round begins with DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Darren Waller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, and Patrick Mahomes. Now, I am not someone who's going to come on here and tell you to draft a quarterback inside the 3rd round, inside the 4th round. I believe the only time that it's acceptable to draft a quarterback is after the 5th round, after I already have maybe 2 star-studded running backs and 2 great wide receivers. I have already built up that kind of centerpiece for my team with the first 4 round picks, and then in the 5th round, that's when I'm fine opening the door and drafting a quarterback. And obviously, in the 5th round, the quarterback you get is not going to be Patrick Mahomes. A majority of the time, he goes earlier than that, but there's a pretty solid chance you get a guy like Lamar Jackson, a guy like Kyler Murray, a guy like Dak Prescott, who could easily be the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy football for 2021. So we're back up on the board here. Definitely not looking quarterback. Seeing Darren Waller go at the 303 is very solid value. So we're back up on the board here, like I just said, like 60 times in a row. We already got a running back. We already got a tight end. So here we're probably going to look to go either running back or wide receiver at this pick. Running backs available: DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, James Robinson. Wide receivers: Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Julio Jones. To me, the best wide receiver available at this spot is Robert Woods of the LA Rams. I believe that he has been a really safe wide receiver throughout his career, and now with Matthew Stafford there, I think he can take that offense to the next level and push Robert Woods to potentially be a top 12 wide receiver for fantasy football in 2021. So back up on the board here inside the 4th round, we got 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and 1 tight end. So a very balanced approach to the start of the draft. So here we are going to lean with a running back. We're going to go ahead and get Chris Carson. Now I understand the upside of DeAndre Swift, right? He's an elite pass catching running back in my opinion. I think he will be able to get that, but with Jamal Williams there, I'm a little bit more worried about it, and the fact that they're not going to be able to run a lot late in games. They're going to have to pass, and maybe DeAndre Swift isn't as good as pass catching as I personally perceive. So here, we're going to go with Chris Carson. I think a lot of people are heavily sleeping on Chris Carson because of the fact that he's just not a sexy pick, right? Chris Carson doesn't do anything for you when you go ahead and draft him. You're not super excited to draft Chris Carson, but personally, I am, because I believe that Chris Carson has top 12 potential on a team that I believe to be very, very run heavy, with a running back that I believe is solid in the pass catching game and really has no competition behind him. So I think Chris Carson is the clear number 1 back here and a potential workhorse running back that you are getting inside of the 4th round. I am not scared at all of Rashad Penny or DJ Dallas, because it appears that DJ Dallas may end up beating out Rashad Penny for that number 2 role. But before we get into our 5th round pick, I would like to let you guys know that football season is right around the corner, and Underdog is offering the biggest best ball tournament in history with a $3.5 million prize pool and over $1 million going to first place. Tune into our shows to get that up-to-date NFL news and use that promo code UNDERDOG, and you can get a free $25 when you deposit. Start your football season right and start it now with Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys check that out. Link down below in the description. Again, use code Awesemo for a free $25. So we're back up on the board here. After we went with Mr. Chris Carson came David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, George Kittle, James Robinson, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Josh Allen, Cooper Kupp, Darrell Henderson, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, Josh Jacobs, and Deontay Johnson. Josh Jacobs is one of the worst picks inside of like the 3rd and 4th round that I see constantly in drafts, but maybe now he's going to start to fall to an appropriate value. Inside the 5th round, I think is way too high as well, but in the 6th, 7th round, I'm definitely fine taking that, because I believe that while he won't have much receiving upside, he is still going to be getting a lion's share of the carries there. So where we are sitting right now, we already have 2 running backs. We got a wide receiver and a very reliable tight end. So here, again, we could go with another running back. I'm fine starting a draft in the first 5 rounds, having 3 running backs, because I believe there's a pretty decent fallout after guys like Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt, and Myles Gaskin. Down here, there are obviously running backs that I like, but I'm nowhere near as confident in them as I am with a guy like Mike Davis or Myles Gaskin. But we're certainly going to get at least 1 wide receiver in these picks. But Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, as well as Dak, fell our way, so they are definitely interesting picks at this spot as well if you wanted to lean the quarterback position. Here, we're definitely going to go with 1 wide receiver, like I said, and the wide receiver we're going to get here is Mr. T. Higgins, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Jamar Chase has struggled immensely in training camp at getting separation. He has struggled in preseason at gripping the football. I think there's a lot of rust in Jamar Chase's game because he hasn't played in a real football game since 2019 in the national championship that they won over out at LSU, obviously, when they won that game. So T. Higgins is, to me, the clear wide receiver one there. He showed it off last season, I believe, with a healthy Joe Burrow, with a very, very pass-heavy offense in Cincinnati, that T. Higgins has a lot of upside here, especially as my wide receiver number 2. And then after this, we are going to go with a running back. Now, it really is a pick-your-poison pick here between Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin, both running backs that I could see with top 12 potential. We saw Mike Davis do it last season from a points-per-game basis, basically finishing as a top 14 running back in PPR in points-per-game basis, and Myles Gaskin was dangerous. Once they stopped using Jordan Howard and Matt Breida and Myles Gaskin took over, there was a lot of smoke about Myles Gaskin potentially not being the guy this season, that somehow Malcolm Brown was going to fuck him over and Salvon Ahmed, but obviously that was rendered as untrue when week 2, Myles Gaskin went to pound town on the defense in Atlanta. I believe Myles Gaskin is going to be the lead back there, and it really is a toss-up between Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin. In my opinion, you could really lean either way. So after we went ahead and went with Myles Gaskin, there was an 83% chance he would be available in the next round, sure, but I want to make sure that I get my guy, because there's a long time before you get to pick again when you are picking on the turn. After we went ahead and got Myles Gaskin came Chase Claypool, Lamar Jackson, Miles Sanders, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Kyler Murray, Robbie Anderson, TJ Hawkinson, Dak Prescott, Mike Davis, Russell Wilson, Odell Beckham Jr., Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Boyd, and Damian Harris. After those big 5 quarterbacks go, you should typically expect to wait on quarterbacks after that. I wouldn't just start firing at all cylinders, drafting a bunch of quarterbacks, but again, people do panic in drafts, and this is something that could happen. Personally, I would definitely continue to wait if I don't get one of those top 5 guys. So we're back up on the board here. We already got our tight end, so we're not going to be looking for another tight end in this video. Since we already have Travis Kelce, if he's healthy, there's no reason to ever start anyone over him except for in his bye week, so there's no reason, in my opinion, to draft a backup tight end. So here, looking wide receiver, we got Jamar Chase, Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, Courtland Sutton, Brandon Cooks. Courtland Sutton gets a change at the quarterback position, with Drew Lock being the guy here in Denver, with Teddy Bridgewater being named as the starting quarterback. Now, I thought it was going to be Drew Lock. I really like the upside of this offense with Drew Lock. I'm still fine drafting Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton with obviously Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback, but to me, I think the upside there is a little bit capped, because Teddy Bridgewater isn't really going to take all those dangerous deep shots down the field that a guy like Courtland Sutton can be the benefactor of. So here we are going to go with Kenny Golladay. Now, there is certainly some risk with Kenny Golladay as well, because he is still banged up right now. He has not returned to practice, and if by the end of the week or the start of next week he's not back in practice, then I'm ready to be nervous. But right now, I believe there's a good reason why they paid him all this money. I understand that Daniel Jones isn't the greatest quarterback in the NFL, and he is far from it, but I believe he is going to be fed the ball at a very high rate there as the #1 wide receiver in New York for the Jets. For the Giants. But before we get on into the next pick, I would like to let you guys know that if you guys are wanting to stick around all season for the NFL DFS, then go ahead and grab our early bird Awesemo Plus NFL Annual Pass right now for 15% off with promo code BLITZ, B-L-I-T-Z. That's a full season worth of Awesemo Plus player projections, ownership percentages, top stacks, premium slack, and tons of other things. So make sure that you guys go ahead, go down there, sign up for it, and use promo code BLITZ for 15% off the Awesemo Plus NFL Annual Package. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. So we're back up on the board after we went with Kenny Golladay, and to me, we have to go running back because I'm still fine drafting Kareem Hunt. Now, to me, the upside with Kareem Hunt is very low because without an injury to a guy like Nick Chubb who's ahead of him, then I don't think Kareem Hunt can really stand out and be amazing, but he's still a very safe pick, so I'm fine taking that in the 8th round as my 4th running back. And then likely after this, we're just going to hammer in to the wide receiver position after the draft swings back around our way. So after we went ahead and selected Mr. Kareem Hunt, we can see that, sorry, my computer's a little bit slow. After that, we saw Kareem Hunt, we saw Jamar Chase, Courtland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Trey Sermon, Chase Edmonds, Antonio Brown, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Raheem Mostert, Will Fuller, DJ Chark, A.J. Dillon, Devontae Smith, Mike Williams, Corey Davis, and we're back up on the board here. We are yet to have a quarterback, so maybe leaning quarterback here might be a good idea. Looking at the wide receivers, Jarvis Landry, Laviska Shenault, Curtis Samuel. Michael Thomas is an interesting pick because I think Michael Thomas is a very interesting pick because while he probably won't be healthy for probably half the season, when he comes back, he does have top 12 wide receiver potential. And if you have an IR spot, you can throw him on there. So with a team like we have now, I think, especially in a 10-team league where we don't need to really rely on Michael Thomas, he's a fine pick here, but we are going to go and lean with, well, actually, we can go with 2 wide receivers. So first up, we're going to go ahead and snag, in my opinion, the wide receiver 1 of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Marvin Jones could be the wide receiver 1 there because all signs out of preseason training camp are that Marvin Jones has looked very, very solid and has been a standout player for the Jaguars. And even before that, I thought it was really just a 1/3 shot that it was going to be Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, or DJ Chark because no one really cemented themselves, at least in my mind, as the clear number 1 guy there. Last year, I think Marvin Jones has a good shot to be that, and I think that while the Jaguars did struggle in the last preseason game, I think overall, as a team, Trevor Lawrence will be able to throw the ball a decent amount to Marvin Jones. So after that, we are going to go with Michael Thomas. I understand the risk with taking Michael Thomas, but the upside is a potential top 5, top 12 wide receiver week in, week out when he does eventually become healthy. And I say eventually because it's pretty hard to predict with a head case like Michael Thomas when he will actually be healthy, because he probably should have gotten surgery in like January, but he waited all the way until June. After Michael Thomas came Ronald Jones, Laviska Shenault, Leonard Fournette, Jarvis Landry, James Conner, Jamal Williams, Curtis Samuel, Gus Bus Edwards, Logan Thomas, Zach Moss, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Michael Carter, Hollywood Brown, McCole Hardman, Kenyon Drake, Michael Pittman, Tony Pollard, and Devin Singletary. So here we are going to go ahead and get our quarterback. Quarterback still available here: Ryan Tannehill, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow. Now I have Jalen Hurts ranked the lowest of this group, but in a 10-team league where I believe that I'm going to be able to pick up another quarterback on the waiver wire. If Jalen Hurts fails, then I'm willing to take the upside shot, because Jalen Hurts, because of the fact that he's a rushing quarterback, because of what he showed me last year, there is a chance that he could be a top 5 quarterback. And that's definitely worth it inside the 11th round, even if I'm not 100% sold on the fact that that could actually occur, because we haven't seen him at all in preseason, really. He played week 1, was having stomach issues in week number 2, so he goes to the hospital. In week 3, they said they're not even going to show Jalen Hurts, so my standpoint on him is that I am as unsure as it gets, but I do understand the upside, and maybe in this draft, I will draft 2 quarterbacks to kind of have a backup plan if Jalen Hurts ends up not being the greatest. So here, we are going to go ahead and get a running back, and we are going to lean with Phillip Lindsay. I don't think a lot of people have really been talking about Phillip Lindsay, but there's a pretty good chance that he is very heavily involved on this Houston Texans team, especially maybe in 3rd down scenarios. He's getting a decent amount of dump offs. It appears that David Johnson, while he probably is the biggest name on that team, will be kind of screwed out, and the starters are going to be Lindsay and Mark Ingram. So I mean, obviously, when you're in the 12th round, looking at a running back, it's very hard to predict someone who's going to be super useful week in and week out. So I'm definitely fine taking a guess on a running back that could be the starter on his team inside of the 12th, 13th round, in that range. So we're back up on the board here, and I'm thinking we're going to go with a quarterback here, potentially. So after with Phillip Lindsay came Tyler Higbee, Dallas Goedert, Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Robert Tonyan, Jalen Waddle, Matt Ryan, Noah Fant, Alexander Madison, Naheem Hines, David Johnson, J.D. McKissick, Giovanni Bernard, LA Rams defense, Rashad Penny, Malcolm Brown, and Irv Smith. So since not many teams took a backup quarterback, I'm fine assuming that no more people are going to take a backup quarterback, and if Jalen Hurts was to realistically be bad, then I just cut someone on the bench and add another quarterback. Or if Jalen Hurts sucks so bad, I just cut him and add a new quarterback, because I think that the quarterbacks down here will have value. I mean, Justin Fields will eventually take over. Same thing goes, I believe, for Trey Lance. So we're just going to go ahead and secure another running back. And while this guy is definitely the backup in New Orleans, we could see him get some more use this season in New Orleans. He is going to be seeing a decent amount of touches. And if Alvin Kamara was to go down, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, if that was to happen, then Latavius Murray is a legitimate top 5 option week in and week out. We've seen him do it in the past when Alvin Kamara got hurt. So now we need a kicker and a defense. First up, we're going to go ahead and snag our kicker. I want to go with my boy Justin Tucker the Fucker. And then for defense, the way you want to draft a defense is The strategy is just to draft a defense playing a not-so-hot opponent week 1, and then after you do that, after you get that 1 week, if they have a harder matchup the next week, you just go ahead and pivot to another defense. So my main target is the Denver Broncos. They're not available, so we are going to go with the Carolina Panthers if I can find them, because clearly I am blind. Carolina Panthers right here. They're playing the Jets week 1. I like the Jets as a team, but the Panthers have a pretty solid defense, and this is Zach Wilson's first game, so there is a chance that he does struggle. So our team, to recap: quarterback Jalen Hurts, running backs Austin Eckler and Chris Carson, wide receivers Robert Woods and T. Higgins, tight end Travis Kelce, flex Myles Gaskin, defense and kicker are the Carolina Panthers and Justin Tucker the fucker. Bench is comprised of Kenny Golladay, Kareem Hunt, Marvin Jones, Michael Thomas, Phillip Lindsay, and Latavius Murray. We got a B, but I like to tell you guys in these videos that the grade you get doesn't really matter at all. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Make sure you check out me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY and hit that subscribe button down below to the channel. I would really appreciate it. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, good boy.